Let me ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. When was the last time your bank account made you feel genuinely okay? Not relieved that payday's tomorrow, not stressed about what is coming out next week. Actually okay, actually stable, actually like you have a real handle on your financial life. If you had to think about it for more than 2 seconds, this video is for you. My name is Claire, and today we are going into something that I think about constantly, something that I watched happen to smart, hardworking people for years while I was working inside corporate finance, something that nobody in this space ever explains honestly enough. It is called the middle-class money trap, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what it is, exactly how it works, and exactly why it has been working on you, probably for years, without you even realizing it. But before we get into any of that, I want to start with a number. 65%. That is the percentage of middle-income Americans, people earning decent salaries, not struggling by anyone's definition, who told researchers in a recent survey that they are financially struggling today and do not expect that to change for the rest of their lives. 65%. Not 65% of people in poverty, not 65% of minimum wage workers, 65% of the people that this country calls middle class, the teachers, the nurses, the project managers, the accountants, the people with the degrees and the good jobs and the health insurance and the 401k that HR set up for them. Struggling and expecting to keep struggling. And if that number surprised you, it should not have. Because once you understand what we are going to talk about today, that number makes complete and painful sense. Let me paint you a picture that I want you to see if you recognize yourself in. You wake up Monday morning. Your alarm goes off, probably earlier than you would like. You get up, you get dressed, you make coffee or you grab it on the way. You show up, you do your job. You are good at your job. You come home tired but okay. Friday comes, payday. That direct deposit hits, and for about 48 hours, maybe 72 if you're lucky, your account looks the way you always want it to look. There's a moment, maybe while you're checking your phone at lunch or lying in bed Friday night, where you feel something close to okay. And then Monday comes around again, and the countdown starts. The mortgage or the rent, the car payment, because in America, having a car is not optional for most people. It is just a recurring monthly cost you agreed to carry indefinitely. The car insurance, the health insurance premium that comes out before you even see your paycheck. And by the way, the average American family pays over $6,500 out of pocket every single year for health coverage, even when they have employer-sponsored insurance. $6,500 before a single doctor's visit. Then the groceries. And if you have been to a grocery store recently, you know that a normal weekly grocery run for a family of 4 can run you $250 to $300 without a single luxury item in the cart. Just normal food, just Tuesday dinners and Saturday lunches, just eating. Then the utilities, the subscriptions, and studies show the average American household has over 30 active subscriptions, totaling around $230 a month. Most people guess about half that when you ask them. The subscriptions you forgot about are doing exactly what they were designed to do. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the unexpected thing shows up. The car needs brakes, the kid needs to go to urgent care, the appliance dies, the bill you did not budget for because how do you budget for something you did not see coming? And here is the number that should stop everyone cold. Nearly half of middle-income Americans, people earning good salaries, would not be able to cover a $500 emergency expense without going into debt or borrowing from someone they know. $500, not $5,000, $500. So you make it through the month, maybe just barely. Maybe you moved some things around. Maybe you put something on a card that you told yourself was temporary. And then it starts again. This is the cycle, and most people who are living inside it have been told, directly or indirectly, that it is their fault, that they are not disciplined enough, that they are spending too much on things they do not need, that if they just made better choices, everything would be fine. I am here to tell you that is not the full story, not even close. Here is what I learned working inside corporate finance for years. I sat in rooms, actual meetings where serious money was being managed, where wealthy people made decisions about capital and investments and long-term strategies. And I want to tell you what struck me in those rooms, because it was not what I expected. It was not that these people were smarter than everyone else. Most of them were not. I have met brilliant people with empty savings accounts and, frankly, average people with impressive net worths. Intelligence has almost nothing to do with it. What struck me was how much they knew, specifically, practically, about how money systems actually work, about taxes and structures and how to position assets, about credit as a tool instead of a trap, about how to make money work while they slept instead of just working for money while they were awake. And I kept thinking, why does nobody teach this to regular people? Not in school, not at home, nowhere that actually reaches the families who need it most. I want to be specific about the school thing because I think it matters more than we realize. We spent 13 years in the American education system. 13 years. And in that time, we learned to analyze Shakespeare. We learned about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. We memorized dates of wars that ended before our grandparents were born. We learned trigonometry, which most of us have never once used since the final exam. And not one class, not one single lesson in 13 years taught us what compound interest actually does to a loan over time. Nobody explained why your credit score can drop after you pay off a debt. Nobody walked us through the real math behind a 30-year mortgage. Nobody showed us the difference between an asset and a liability in language a real person could understand. We handed 18-year-olds student loan documents worth $40, $50, $60,000, sometimes six figures, before they had ever paid a single utility bill, and we said, sign here. Without explaining what interest capitalization means, without explaining what happens when life gets hard and you fall behind on payments, without explaining that those loans would follow them for decades and affect every major financial decision they make as an adult. That is not a personal failure. That is a systemic one. And here's the thing about a systemic failure. It produces predictable outcomes. You can actually look at the data and see exactly who it hits hardest and how. And what the data shows is that the people bearing the most financial stress in America are not the people at the bottom of the income scale. The people at the absolute bottom have access to assistance programs and safety nets. Imperfect ones, but they exist. The people bearing the most invisible financial stress are the people in the middle, earning just enough to be disqualified from assistance, paying full freight on every tax, every premium, every fee, too much money to qualify for help, not enough money to actually feel secure, earning just enough to survive, and too much to get any relief. That specific group, your group, that is who the middle-class money trap is designed for. So let me explain exactly what the trap is, because once you can see it clearly, by name, by mechanism, it loses most of its power over you. The middle-class money trap is not one thing. It is a set of interconnected financial systems that extract wealth from middle-income earners in ways that are legal, largely invisible, and almost never explained honestly. Let me walk you through the four biggest ones. The first one is the tax structure. Here is something that genuinely surprised me when I first understood it clearly. The American tax system, as it actually operates, not as it is described in a civics class, but as it actually works, takes a higher real percentage of income from salaried, middle-class workers than it takes from wealthy people who earn through investments. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is how the tax code is written. When you earn a salary, you pay ordinary income tax rates, which can run from 22% to 32% for middle-income earners depending on your situation. When a wealthy person earns money through long-term capital gains, meaning they made money because they own assets that grew in value, they pay 15 to 20%. That is it. So you work a 40-hour week, earn your salary, and pay 22 to 32 cents of every dollar to the government. A wealthy investor earns money while sitting at home because their assets appreciate and pays 15 to 20 cents. You are paying more, in real percentage terms, for working than they are for owning. And that is before we even get into the deductions and structures available to high-income earners that simply do not apply to people on a salary. This is baked into the system. It is not an accident, and understanding it changes how you think about every dollar you earn. The second is the credit system. Your credit score is a 3-digit number that has enormous influence over your financial life. It affects whether you can get a mortgage, what interest rate you pay on a car loan, in some cases whether you can rent an apartment, and in about 16% of professional jobs, it actually affects your employment. A 3-digit number that most Americans do not fully understand. Here is what I want you to know about that number that most people get completely wrong. The credit score system does not reward people who are good with money. It rewards people who are good at using credit. Those are not the same thing. Someone who pays cash for everything, carries zero debt, and saves religiously can have a lower credit score than someone who carries multiple credit card balances, makes minimum payments, and has been doing so for years. The system literally cannot see good financial behavior that does not involve borrowing. And here is the one that really gets people. The average American has $6,300 in credit card debt right now, up from $5,900 just a year ago. And those same Americans are paying an average interest rate of 22.3% on that debt. 22%! If you have $6,300 in credit card debt at 22% interest and you are making minimum payments, you will be paying that debt for years, potentially decades, and you will pay 2 to 3 times the original amount by the time it is gone. The minimum payment is not a payment plan. It is a subscription to your own debt. The third is the banking system. Your savings account is paying you somewhere between 0.01% and 5% interest right now, depending on where you keep it and what type of account it is. Your bank is taking your deposits and lending them out at interest rates of 8%, 12%, 18%, 22%. They are borrowing your money, because that is what a deposit actually is, you lending your money to the bank. And they are making enormous profits on the spread between what they pay you and what they charge borrowers. In 2024, Americans paid $254 billion in credit card interest and fees alone. That is $250 billion extracted from the people who were least able to afford it, paid to the institutions that needed it least. And the most commonplace middle-class Americans keep their savings? A basic savings account at a major bank paying them a fraction of 1%. Your money is working hard. It is just working for them, not for you. The fourth is the retirement system. 40 years ago, most American workers had pensions. Your employer contributed to a fund, you worked your career, and when you retired, you received a guaranteed monthly payment for the rest of your life. That system has been almost entirely replaced by the 401k, and the shift from pension to 401k was one of the most significant transfers of financial risk in American history, from the employer to the employee, and it happened so gradually that most people did not notice until it was already done. With a pension, the investment risk stays with the institution. With a 401k, the investment risk stays with you. You choose the funds. You bear the losses. You figure out how to make it last. And you are doing all of this while also trying to raise kids, pay a mortgage, manage health insurance, and hold down a full-time job. And here's the number that most people do not want to look at directly. The median retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64, meaning the people who are within 10 years of retirement, is about $87,000. Not the average, the median. Half of people in that age group have less than $87,000 saved for retirement. That is not enough, not even close to enough to retire comfortably for 20 to 25 years. And most of those people have been working and saving their entire lives. They did not fail at retirement. The system failed to give them the tools and the education they needed to succeed at it. Now, here is the thing I need you to really hear. I am not telling you any of this to make you feel hopeless. I am not telling you this so you can be angry, although some of this is genuinely worth being angry about. I am telling you this because understanding the trap is the first step to getting out of it. And people do get out. That is the other side of what I witnessed working in finance. I have seen people in this country earning $200,000 a year who are completely, genuinely broke. Not just tight, actually broke. Nice house, nice car, nice clothes, nice neighborhood, and quietly panicking every single month because their lifestyle cost exactly as much as they earned and they had nothing left over for anything. And I have watched people earning $40,000 a year, sometimes less, slowly and patiently build real financial security, not through a lucky investment, not through a windfall, through understanding, through making a handful of decisions differently once they understood the systems they were operating inside. The difference was never the income. I want to say that again because it is the most important thing in this entire video. The difference was never the income. It was always the knowledge. So what does getting out actually look like? It starts with 3 shifts, not tips, not hacks, fundamental shifts in how you think about and interact with money. The first shift is from consumer to strategist. Most of us were raised to think about money in terms of what we can afford. Can I afford this car payment? Can I afford this apartment? Can I afford this vacation? That framing keeps you inside the trap because it evaluates every financial decision in isolation in the present tense without considering what that decision costs you over time. A strategist asks different questions. Not, can I afford this? But what does this actually cost me over time? Not, is this within my budget? But is this moving me toward where I want to be or away from it? A car payment of $500 a month is not just $500 a month. Over 6 years, that is $36,000, and that is before interest. Money that could have been invested, compounded, and turned into something much larger. The second shift is from avoiding to understanding. One of the most financially destructive habits I have ever seen, and it is incredibly common, is the habit of financial avoidance. Not opening the credit card statement, not checking the bank account, not looking at the 401k balance, keeping the financial picture blurry on purpose because looking at it clearly feels too overwhelming. I understand that. I genuinely do. Money anxiety is real. Studies show that money is the #1 source of stress for over 60% of Americans. The avoidance is not laziness. It is a completely human response to something that feels threatening. But avoidance is expensive. Every month you do not look at your credit card statement is a month of interest you did not catch. Every quarter you do not review your 401k is time your investment allocation might be working against you. Every year you do not look at your overall financial picture is a year of decisions made without full information. Understanding is uncomfortable at first, but it is the only thing that actually changes the outcome. The third shift is from reactive to proactive. Most middle-class financial behavior is reactive. The car breaks down and you put it on a credit card. The medical bill comes and you set up a payment plan. The tax bill is higher than expected and you scramble. Everything is a response to something that already happened. Proactive financial behavior anticipates. It creates systems. An emergency fund that makes the car repair a manageable inconvenience instead of a financial crisis. A tax strategy that does not leave you surprised every April. An investment plan that runs automatically so you're building wealth even in the months when life is chaotic. The shift from reactive to proactive is not about having more money. It's about using the money you already have more intentionally, and it changes everything. I want to close with something that I think matters a lot and does not get said enough in financial content. You are not behind because you made bad choices. You are not behind because you lack discipline. You are not behind because you are not smart enough or driven enough or good enough at money. You are behind, if you feel behind, because you were handed a complex financial system without a manual in a country that decided financial literacy was not important enough to teach in school. And then we're told that struggling was your personal failure when the system was designed in ways that made struggling almost inevitable for people in your position. That is the honest truth. And it is the truth that this channel is going to keep telling you. Because here's what I have seen consistently in my years working with and around money. The people who build real wealth are not exceptional. They're not lucky. They're not smarter than you. They just understand the rules of the game. And once you understand the rules, the real rules, not the ones they pretend apply, you can start playing differently. That is what Claire Audits is here for. Every Tuesday and Friday, we are going to go deep on the topics that actually matter for the real financial life you are actually living. Credit scores and what they actually measure, debt and how to get out of it strategically without shaming yourself into paralysis, mortgages and what your bank statement is not showing you up front, investing, starting from zero, starting from fear, starting from wherever you actually are right now, the psychology of money and why the financial struggle is almost never just about the numbers. No jargon, no condescension, no oversimplified tips that ignore the real problem, no get-rich-quick nonsense that costs you more than it makes you. Just honest, practical information for real people with real bills and real lives. If this is the first video of mine you have ever watched, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss what is coming. If you have been here since the beginning, thank you. You already know what this channel is about, and we are just getting started. My name is Claire. This is Claire Audits, and I will see you in the next video.